Okay, so this will be our last section for Chapter 4, which is going to be written communications, which is going to be a very important aspect of your career, because every patient contact you come in contact with, you will be utilizing written communications. And written communications ends up being a permanent fixture of that patient's medical record, and it can be a legal document. So the patient care report, also known as a pre-hospital care report, PCR, it is a legal document and records all care from dispatch to hospital arrival. So you want to make sure that you accurately document everything that happens from the time the call came in from dispatch, the dispatch times, all the way through to when you go in service, and so on. The PCR serves 6 functions. It's a continuity of care, it's a legal documentation, education, administrative information, essential research record, and evaluation and continuous quality improvement. So continuity of care, that's when we're going to hand off our patient to the next provider, and they're going to utilize that information to help further their care plans. Legal documentation, in case anything's ever called to court, it turns into a legal document. Education, we utilize this along with providing continuous quality improvement and so on. They're kind of integrated together in providing educational programs for continuing education and for initial education and changing the practice. And that's where the essential research record comes into, because the information contained on the PCR can help us better what is going on in the field by progressing our industry through utilizing good sound research principles. Administrative information, that's for our billing purposes, and evaluation and continual quality improvement, which is where we're going to take the run, break it down, and find out what went wrong, what went right, and see how we can apply it to future calls. So the information collected includes your chief complaint, level of consciousness or mental status, vital signs, your initial assessment, and patient demographics, as well as the treatments that you provide and how they responded to those treatments, and what you did to whenever you arrived at the hospital to turn them over as well, and where you left them and who you gave report to. Additionally, the PCR also contains administrative information, such as the time of the incident was reported and the EMS left the scene, and has billing and research and quality improvement information. So you have a couple different types of PCRs. We have the traditional PCR, which is there on the right. You have the old state of Georgia PCR. And up above we have an electronic documentation. So we have computerized in the traditional. Now in the traditional version, the back side of that PCR has bubble dots that you fill in, or check boxes that you fill in. And then you have this side that you see here where you fill out all your written stuff. And both of them are part of the patient care record. So it's just as important to do the back side, which would be the bubble dots, as it is to do the front side, which is the written narrative stuff. Same thing with your computerized documentation. You need to complete all fields. And a good thing about it is a lot of computerized systems will not allow you to go further or allow you to close out the call until it is all completed. The narrative section of the PCR may be the most important, though. However, all of it is important, but the narrative section lists the information regarding what happened, what you did, and how the patient responded, and so on. So you want to make sure to include information such as the time of events, your assessment findings, the care provided, and if there's a refusal, you want to make sure you document that refusal of care. And if there is a refusal, you want to make sure that you document that you attempted to get that patient to go to the hospital. So make sure you include significant negative findings and observation about the scene. Do not record any conclusions or judgments. That is not appropriate to put conclusions or judgments there. And use standard abbreviations and avoid radio codes. And most agencies have an approved abbreviation list that you can use. And remember, the PCRs are confidential. So just don't leave them laying out on the table. One thing that is easy to do and will happen is people will throw them in the dashboard, and right there they are for the whole world to see, and that is not good either. So if you have a PCR, make sure you put it in your clipboard. If you're using electronic documentation, don't leave it up. If you have to walk away or something, save it and then log back in. So if you make an error, which you will do, especially on a written report, because all written reports are done in ink, and some places require you to use blue or black ink. Just follow your local protocol or standard operating procedure there. But if you leave something out or record it incorrectly, not try to cover it up. Just go back and make a correction, because falsification can cause, number one, it can cause your system not to trust you anymore. And it can lead to poor patient care, and you could get in trouble via suspension at work, or you could even have legal action done to you. So if you do have an error, make sure you report it. And if you make a mistake on the PCR, if you can see there, they've drawn a line through it and initial it. And that's what you're going to do, one line and initial. And if you need to add stuff to your patient care report afterwards, there is a form that you will utilize called an addendum, and you'll probably go through your supervisor to utilize that. So refusal to care, this is a common source of lawsuits. So that means that you need to provide thorough documentation to protect yourself and your agency. And things you want to document are your assessment findings, any care that you gave, and document what you did to try to get the patient to go to the hospital. Document that you advised the patient that his condition was serious and without further care he could have some negative consequences. You advise him that you would be willing to come back anytime. Whatever, you need to make sure you put it in there. And then have the patient sign the refusal form and have a witness sign it as well. And then you want to make sure you complete the entire PCR. So most states and most areas have special reporting situations. This means that we need to report gunshot wounds to the authorities, dog bites, some serious infectious diseases, suspected physical or sexual abuse, especially that of minors, and mass casualty incidents. And what you want to do is you want to report these, especially first to your supervisor. And it's not just good enough to just report it to your supervisor and let it go. You want to make sure you follow through and make sure that the appropriate authorities are notified. And you want to document that in your patient care report as well. And medical terminology. Medical terminology, we utilize medical terminology because all providers should understand it. But let me go ahead and throw this out to you, okay? If you are ever in a situation where you are not 100% clear on what term to use, or if you're using the right term, use the layman's term, because you do not want to use the wrong term and end up getting someone hurt because one provider is assuming you are talking about something else, okay? So unless you know it 100%, make sure that you are, unless you know it 100%, don't use it. So that's my take on medical terminology, but you should be studying medical terminology. You should learn it and know it inside and out so that you can communicate well. Well, that does it for our written communications section, and that does it for this chapter. Please make sure you complete all your assignments, and we'll see you on the next chapter.